The Chicago Bears obviously are a very interesting team to look at for the 2024 NFL Draft. They have the first overall pick, another top 10 selection, but only have 4 overall selections in this draft. We are going to be looking at a full 7-round mock draft for the Chicago Bears today, potentially what they might do, who they might be targeting, and what kind of players fit their mold. So let's go ahead and dive right into this mock draft. Obviously, first overall, the Bears have their choice of whatever prospect they choose in this draft. And I certainly think that at this point in time, it is going to be Caleb Williams, the quarterback out of USC. And I think it makes a ton of sense. You get your franchise quarterback, you move on from Justin Fields, you reset that quarterback clock. I think he's one of the most talented quarterback prospects coming out in the past couple of years. So the Bears really did hit the jackpot in having the opportunity to select Caleb Williams first overall for a pick that's not even technically theirs. That trade back last year when the Panthers went up and got Bryce Young, certainly paying dividends for them. But at pick number 9 now, I definitely think this is a potential trade down situation. Obviously, you have the 3 quarterbacks going at the top, and then Odunze, Harrison, and Nabers all going as well, along with Joe Alt. I think almost all of those guys would be players that they would potentially be targeting. And then Dallas Turner, who might be edge rusher number 1 as well, going to the Falcons in this case. I don't think it would make a ton of sense for the Bears to select, a corner or really an offensive tackle here. Braxton Jones has been decent. Darnell Wright played pretty well in his rookie year. I think you could take Brock Bowers, but you already have Cole Kmet, who you're paying good money to. You have a tight end 2 option in Gerald Everett, who you just brought in as well. So I really don't think that's a scenario in which they would be going. I could definitely see Matt Eberflus and Ryan Poles, both of them have been trying to get a 3 technique that is really crucial to Matt Eberflus' scheme for the past couple of years. They tried to sign Larry Ogunjobi a few years ago. They've drafted Gervon Dexter as well as Zach Pickens to potentially play that role as well. Jerzon Newton or Byron Murphy. I could absolutely see them being really, really intrigued with those players. I could also see them just taking Laiatu Latu or Jared Verse, who I think fits their scheme very well as well. But I think ultimately in this scenario, you would definitely explore a trade down. You're likely not trading with the Vikings, who could probably give you the best return, but I also don't think that you would want to trade with a division rival. I think maybe potentially trading with somebody like the Denver Broncos, maybe picking up a second next year for that to happen, just picking up extra draft capital, and then maybe additionally a later pick this year as well. I think that would make a ton of sense for the Bears, so they can accumulate a few more picks this year, maybe future capital as well. And the Broncos can go up and get their quarterback, J.J. McCarthy in this case, and you keep a quarterback away from your division rivals in the Vikings. I think at this point, it does make a lot of sense to take either Byron Murphy, Jerzon Newton, or who I'm ultimately going to go with here, Jared Verse out of Florida State. I think Verse absolutely fits the mold of the Bears edge rusher. He would pair really nicely with Montez Sweat. He gives you that power profile, somebody that can be a 3-down player, really good in the running game as well as pass rushing upside. So I definitely think that pick makes a ton of sense for this team, and I definitely could see them taking advantage of that trade down and getting somebody like Jared Verse in there. Up now at pick 75, I definitely think that wide receiver is on the board. You do have Devontae Walker, Johnny Wilson, some of those guys, Jamari Thrash, Malachi Corley as well, all options if you decided to go with the wide receiver route. And I definitely think they could. You've got DJ Moore, who's a nice, really good separator type. You've got Keenan Allen, who's that slot player. He can play kind of all over, but he's also kind of that possession receiver. I definitely think they could go in a couple of different directions at the wide receiver spot. You could get kind of a downfield contested catch weapon. You could bring in somebody with some serious speed. I also think you could get a yak weapon. I think DJ Moore does that pretty well, but somebody like Malachi Corley, I could absolutely see fitting them as well. Ultimately, for the Bears at pick 75, I think I'm going to go with Johnny Wilson out of Florida State. He does have some drop issues at times, but he is gigantic. I mean, he absolutely could be that contested catch downfield weapon. He doesn't have the best pure speed necessarily, but I think giving Caleb Williams just a downfield target, somebody that can go up and catch the ball and be just that contested catch ball winner, I ultimately do think that that could be a very valuable selection for the Bears at pick 75. We have just 2 selections left for the Bears, 122 and 136 now. And I do think that they could take another swing on the defensive line, this time potentially on the interior. You'll lose Justin Jones in free agency. And like we said, I think that Eberflus and Ryan Poles really want to upgrade that 3-tech position. Leonard Taylor is somebody with freaky traits. I could absolutely see them going in that direction just because he hasn't put it all together, but in the 4th round, I think taking a swing on a player like that is probably worthwhile. So that's where we're ultimately going to go. Leonard Taylor out of Miami. He's big, he's athletic, and I definitely think that they could see the potential with him and hope that they could turn him into a developmental, really nice 3 technique. And then additionally, I think that they can absolutely upgrade the interior of the offensive line. I definitely think that's going to be an emphasis as well in the draft. Obviously not a ton of picks, but Ryan Bates is your starting center right now. You just haven't had a lot of consistency there at all. So I'm going to go with Drake Nugent out of Michigan. Played in that kind of power run scheme. I definitely think he could provide some stability and be a nice depth piece that could potentially turn into a starter for them, especially just a good insurance policy if Ryan Bates were to go down at some point this year. So this is what PFF thought of our mock draft. Didn't stray too far from their board. I think obviously getting Caleb Williams first overall, that's going to set the tone for the entire draft. Trading back, picking up some extra draft capital, a 2025 second round pick from the Broncos, as well as a 5th round pick this year. I definitely think that's worthwhile for the Bears to get that extra draft capital, only move down 3 spots, and allow the Broncos to jump the Vikings for J.J. McCarthy, their quarterback of the future as well. Trading back to 12, getting Jared Verse, who I think fits their scheme very well. A nice contested catch weapon for Caleb Williams and Johnny Wilson in the 3rd round. And then some developmental depth pieces as well. Leonard Taylor, I think, could absolutely turn into a good 3 technique if given the proper coaching and the proper time. He definitely has the talent for it. And then Drake Nugent, somebody who I just definitely think could be a nice depth piece, provide some stability on the interior of that offensive line, which I do think is a bit thin for the Bears right now. Let me know what you think, Bears fans, of my mock draft here. What would you change? Who would you have taken instead? The Bears definitely have a big part in this 2024 NFL draft. Hoping to get through a bunch of teams here as we come up on the draft. Let me know if you like this kind of content, these 7-round full mock drafts for each team. If you like this kind of content, please hit that subscribe button down below. Hit the like button while you're down there as well. Just helps push this out to other NFL draft fans just like you and truly helps support the channel as well. Thank you so much for watching. I will catch you in the next one.